If you're looking for that literary shortcut, a way to really understand a huge new release before it even hits the shelves, then this is the deep dive for you.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we are talking about what feels like, a genuine literary event, the announcement of Elizabeth Strout's brand new novel.
And this isn't just any announcement. We're talking about one of the most respected authors, well, working today.
Absolutely.
Pulitzer Prize winner, New York Times bestseller. She's known for this almost surgically precise observation of the human condition. Strout is, a cornerstone of contemporary fiction.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack everything we can from the sources about this new book. We'll get into the plot, the setting, the early reviews, and the one single biggest surprise that has everyone talking.
Right.
We are discussing the things we never say. Random House has it slated for publication on May 5, 2026.
And the news of this project, it dropped around October 2025. And yeah, it instantly signaled a really dramatic shift for her.
A huge shift.
It's monumental for her longtime readers because for years, Strout's entire universe has been centered in Maine.
Right. The quiet, sometimes harsh realities of Maine.
That's where we met Olive Kitteridge. It's where we followed the whole saga of Lucy Barton.
Oh.
The things we never say. It's a very intentional break from all of that. She's leaving her established literary universe completely behind.
She is literally turning a page. That's how she put it.
Yeah.
So we're leaving Maine and heading for the Massachusetts coast. That means a whole new setting, a new culture, a whole new cast of characters. But that begs the question, right? When an author has built such a foundation on one place, on these beloved characters, is there a huge risk in just abandoning them?
Oh, it's absolutely a risk. But I think it also really speaks to her confidence as an artist. Strout isn't just a popular writer. She's an institution. Her work has been, vetted at the highest levels.
Okay, so to really get the scale of this shift, we should probably ground ourselves in her past work. This is her 11th novel, right?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
And the list of honors is just staggering. Let's talk about some of them.
Okay, so take Olive Kitteridge. That book didn't just win the Pulitzer Prize.
Which is already huge.
It's massive. But it was also a finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award. And then more recently, her novel, O. William, was shortlisted for the Booker Prize.
These are top-tier global awards.
Absolutely. And her acclaim, it goes all the way back to the beginning. Her very first novel, Amy and Isabel, won the Los Angeles Times Award for First Fiction, the Chicago Tribune Heartland Prize.
It was a finalist for the Peden Faulkner, too, I think.
And the Orange Prize in England.
Yes.
She's been operating at this elite level for decades, right up to her most recent one, Tell Me Everything, which just came out last year in 2025.
So when you have that kind of track record, leaving your comfort zone, leaving Maine, it's less about necessity and more about, what, a creative rejuvenation?
Exactly. It suggests she felt those worlds, they had finished telling their stories. And she basically confirmed that. We have that quote from her where she says, I turned a page and left Maine. It was very refreshing to create a whole new set of characters.
It's a creative reset button.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating is how the publisher, Random House, is handling this. They're positioning the book not as just a departure, but as an elevation.
Oh, interesting.
They're describing it as, and I'm quoting here, one of Strout's most profound novels yet. They make it very clear that she's maintaining her trademark exquisite prose and her reputation as this accomplished observer of the human condition.
So the message from them is the dress has changed, but the emotional depth you expect is still there.
Guaranteed, yeah. It's reassuring for readers who might feel like they're losing an old friend in Oliver Lucy.
And I saw that the cover art seems to hint at this, too.
It does. The designer, Anna Kochman, used this painting of a seaside scene at night. And Strout herself actually commented on it. She said she appreciated the subtle brushwork on the moon's reflection in the water.
The ripple.
The ripple, exactly, and the hint of clouds.
That ripple is such a perfect metaphor for her work, isn't it? The surface looks calm, it looks beautiful, but there's always that slight disturbance, that one thing that breaks up the image of stability.
Precisely. That's what she does. She takes a familiar domestic scene and introduces that one small element that shatters the reflection.
And that little ripple, it perfectly sets us up for the protagonist of this news story, a man named Artie Dam.
Right. Because his life looks perfectly calm on the surface, but underneath, the waters are turbulent.
So let's dive into Artie Dam. He is the star of this new show. We meet him as a high school history teacher. He teaches 11th graders. And on the outside, his life seems totally present and alive. He corrects, the small cruelties he sees in his classroom. He's been married for 3 decades. He sails on Massachusetts Bay.
He sounds like a man who is really grounded in the daily rhythms of life, small talk with neighbors, teaching his class.
But the sources we have reveal this really sharp contrast between that external life and what's going on inside. He is apparently plagued by these deep feelings of isolation.
And that isolation is made worse by how he sees the world.
Yeah, we learned that Artie looks out at a world he sees as having gone mad.
And that's not just the political world, it's the world of relationships, of hidden motives.
Right. And that internal struggle leads him to this central question that just turns over and over in his mind.
What is it?
How is it that we know so little about one another, even those closest to us?
Oof. He's staring right into the domestic void there. That's a heavy question.
It's the engine for the whole plot.
Mm-hmm.
His world, which seemed so predictable, gets completely upended when he learns that life, his own life, his past, has been, and this is the quote, keeping a secret from him.
Wow.
A secret so profound it just shatters his reality and forces him to chart an entirely new course.
So he has to completely reconsider all of his most important relationships.
All of them. And he has to find a way to make peace with the mysteries at the heart of our existence. It's a huge existential quest, but it's all disguised as this quiet domestic story.
That's very high stakes for a story about a high school history teacher.
And to make it relatable, she uses those tiny, almost funny details she's so famous for. We learn that Artie is a seemingly uncomplicated, not too smart guy who always wears white socks.
Oh, there it is.
And here's the kicker. This is a habit that drives his wife crazy.
And see, that's classic Strout. Why does that detail about the White Sox matter so much?
Tell us.
Because in that one detail, she defines the entire landscape of a 30-year marriage. The quiet, simmering tension, all the things that are never said, it's all there in a single, annoying, completely mundane habit.
The socks are the symptom.
They're the symptom of the deep divide that Artie is starting to question. It grounds this huge philosophical problem. How can I really know you? In the daily irritation of laundry.
I mean, you, the listener, you immediately recognize that. I've definitely been on one side of that kind of domestic battleground.
It creates instant empathy. But we do know that Artie has some anchors. The sources mention his son, Rob, and Rob's girlfriend, his friend Ken, and a character named Anne.
And these relationships seem uncomplicated. They might be the only things holding him steady while his world, as they say, capsizes.
Right, and when you look at what the early reviewers are saying, it all clicks. They call the novel a poignant meditation on loneliness, friendship, parenthood, and the importance of truth in this capsizing world.
It sounds incredibly timely, using the small domestic sphere to comment on this bigger global anxiety.
And that brings us to the broader context of her work. If we zoom out a bit, we can look at the genre she operates in, which helps explain why she's so consistently celebrated.
Okay, so if we're putting her on a bookshelf, where does she live? The term used is women's realist domestic literary fiction.
It is, yeah.
Break that down for us. What does that actually mean?
So, realist domestic literary fiction basically means intelligent, character-driven stories, where the main action is internal. It happens within a family, a marriage, a small town. The stakes are emotional, they're existential, not, car chases or global politics.
And she dominates this space.
She does, because she can take a seemingly tiny event, a casual comment in a classroom, a pair of white socks, and make it resonate with this huge universal meaning.
It's finding the cosmic in the mundane.
Exactly. And the writers she's compared to, it's a who's who of literary depth.
Like who?
Ann Patchett, Ann Tyler, Ann Napolitano. A lot of Anns, actually.
A lot of Anns.
But also Curtis Sittenfeld, Tessa Hadley, Sue Miller, and of course Richard Russo, who works in similar small-town, character-driven worlds.
And it's not just her peers, her influence is already there. I think we saw a note that authors like Charlotte Woods mentioned being inspired by Strout for her book Stoneyard Devotional.
Yeah, she is setting the template for this kind of thoughtful, emotionally complex fiction right now.
So what's the early buzz for this new one?
It's very strong. Even before the official release, the early Goodreads rating from people with advanced copies was incredibly high, like 4.72 out of 5.
Wow, that's significant.
It suggests this immediate, passionate appreciation. Reviewers are calling the writing thought-provoking and remarkably perceptive. They're saying her core mission, capturing the human condition, is definitely succeeding in this new setting.
But it's not all universal praise, right? There was a point of tension in the sources.
There was, yeah. We have to acknowledge it. While most of the praise is for these universal themes, grief, secrets, friendship. One advanced reviewer did express a wish that Strout would leave politics out of her books.
What?
This person felt she spends too much time on pushing her agenda.
And that's such a critical piece of feedback
Yeah.
because it highlights this tension in realism today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the character Artie Dam looks out at a world gone mad.
Mm-hmm.
If Strout is committed to realism, she can't really ignore the contemporary moment, even if some readers want pure escape.
Exactly. The walls of the house don't completely shield you from the outside world. The question becomes, how does that external anxiety, how does it affect a 30-year marriage? How does it affect one man's deep-seated isolation?
Right, so it seems she's using the contemporary world as more of a backdrop to amplify these timeless human questions, not to make a political statement.
That's what it sounds like. The themes that the publisher and most reviewers are pushing are those fundamental human elements: secrets, truth, and connection.
It's about the emotional freedom that comes when you finally break free of secrets. That really transcends any temporary political debate.
It absolutely does, and that's what Strout does best. She takes these huge universal concepts and filters them through the perspective of one seemingly ordinary guy.
So what does this all mean for you, the reader, looking ahead to May 2026?
Well,
We've learned that Elizabeth Strout is making a bold move, leaving the familiar world of Maine for coastal Massachusetts. We've met Artie Dam, this outwardly stable, inwardly isolated teacher who goes on a painful search for truth after a huge secret is revealed.
and we know that despite the new characters, the novel is still expected to deliver that exquisite Strout prose and her signature insights into our need for connection and our need to be free from these heavy, unspoken secrets.
We can expect a deeply moving story about parenthood, friendship, and loneliness, all seen through the eyes of a man whose biggest flaw seems to be his white socks.
That small, annoying detail really says it all, doesn't it? The friction of domestic life as a metaphor for a crisis of existence.
It really does. And that friction brings us all the way back to Artie Dam's central mystery.
How is it that we know so little about one another, even those closest to us?
That's the whole project.
And since this book is all about breaking free from those secrets and finding truth in our most intimate relationships, the deep dive leaves you with this question to think about.
When an author masters a genre that's defined by the domestic, by the seemingly familiar, is the real power of her writing, its ability to reveal the deepest, most universal truths, the ones we all spend our lives hiding right beneath the surface of everyday life. And how will a small-town teacher who wears white socks manage to make peace with the mystery he finds at the heart of his own existence?
Something to ponder as you mark your calendar for May 5, 2026.